2019 marks the 25th anniversary of the NBA Live franchise, the third iteration of NBA basketball simulations from Electronic Arts, or EA Sports. The first of these being the Bulls versus blank, enter team name here, in the NBA playoffs. The two that I remember off the top of my head are Bulls versus Lakers and Bulls versus Blazers. Those games were a side-scrolling left-to-right, right-to-left basketball simulation type game where you got to play as some of the biggest players in the league at the time, such as Jordan, Barkley, so on and so forth. There were some dunks in the game. It was definitely a starting kind of basketball game, and something that if you weren't a simulation fan, if you were looking for something faster or something a bit more forgiving, those were not the games for you. The NBA playoffs series would transition to something called NBA Showdown soon afterwards. NBA Showdown 94 on the Genesis is especially notable because of its inclusion in season play, because of its inclusion of a battery to be able to save stats and progress during the season, and the fact that it moved considerably faster than the NBA playoffs games did on the Genesis and the Super Nintendo, especially on the Genesis. The Super Nintendo version of NBA Showdown is kind of hit or miss. Then in 1994, EA changed the game with NBA Live 95. NBA Live changed the gameplay perspective from your basic side-scroller right to left, or left to right, to a new isometric perspective that opened up the court so you could see better who was open, you could pass the ball to, you could see more of the court, better court vision. There was also full season play, battery backup for both Super Nintendo and the Genesis. Some slow motion dunks, which are a great way to embarrass your friends if you happen to land a particularly posterizing dunk in front of them. You can watch it play out in slow motion and then just play the instant replay to just embarrass them over and over and over again. It was very hip. It was very fast. It was a lot of fun to play. And to me, the most important thing was that this was the first game from the EA Sports library that really, in my opinion, narrowed the gap in performance between the Sega Genesis, which had long been the de facto sports game console, and the Super Nintendo, which was always trying to catch up. So now we had pretty much a level ground between the two consoles. So it didn't matter which version you had, you were getting a great basketball game either way. Some would argue that the Super Nintendo version of NBA Live 95 is a little bit better because of the sound chip, but again, preferences being what they are, you may decide that you like to play all of your sports games in the Genesis, and you don't really lose much with the NBA Live games on that particular system. And I have two of them that I'm going to be opening that are sealed in honor of the 25th anniversary of the Live franchise. Unfortunately, the Live franchise is probably going away after a couple of very difficult years, really a difficult eighth generation of consoles when EA Sports or EA decided to try and bring back NBA Live after it kind of petered out during the seventh generation on the 360 and the PS3. But nevertheless, we're going to celebrate some of the glory days of the series in this episode. So let's get going. The first of these games is the game that started it all. This is the Sega Genesis version. Both of these are. This is NBA Live 95, complete with a $49.99 price tag on there. I don't see that is, I believe, Robert Horry, I should say, Houston versus the Knicks, I believe, on the cover, and we'll take a look at that when we get the plastic off there. This is an EA Sports release. It does have Sega's general audiences rating down the bottom before the ESRB was a thing. And we take a look on the back, all new, fast, and awesome in that really Attitude 90s style font there. We're going to take a look at some of the features here. I'll show you some of the screens, and again, you can see the isometric view when you're looking at it here. And there is a laundry list of features we're going to go through. New 30-degree perspective opens up the court like never before. Again, with this isometric angle, and I want to show you the look again, you can see all of the players. You can see where they're open on the court. You can see more of the action, and to me, that really opens up the offense and also the defense. We also have here new live TV-style presentation, bringing a new gaming experience. That's kind of debatable. That's certainly there with stat overlays, but it would get better in the years that would follow. Cool new passing on the run and turbo features equal real fast breaks. This is very true. The introduction of turbo in the game, which seems to be lifted from NBA Jam a little bit, certainly adds a measure of strategy to the game and can certainly open up a run and gun style offense. Fresh dunks, alley-oops, and passing animations that you control. New slow motion dunk feature allows you to relish the big plays, or, like I said, embarrass your friends. 46 offensive plays and 4 defensive sets. This is a 16 meg cartridge, so it promises intense gameplay. The gameplay is certainly very good. Intense, that varies. Accurate player and user stats are saved by a battery backup, another thing that's very important rather than using passwords. And of course, we're closing in on the end of the 16-bit era, so more cartridges than not, especially in the sports side of things, were using battery backups at the time. Fresh jam and music gets you hyped to play. All 27 94-95 NBA teams plus 2 All-Star and 4 custom teams. So that's huge, being able to build your own custom teams. Basically fantasy basketball before fantasy basketball was a thing, except there were no real limits. You could have whoever you wanted on your team. The NBA schedule for 94-95 is here. You can play a full or reduced season, playoffs, or even trade players. You can control the matchups on defense. So do you double team Patrick Ewing? Who knows? 4-way play support. So again, if you have the 4-way play adapter for the Genesis, you can play 4 players with this. I believe the multi-tap and 5-player play was possible on the Super Nintendo. So let's go ahead and open this up. You can still see like the hang tag in the back there. So it is really cool to be able to open this up because I really haven't played much of the Sega Genesis version of this. So it's going to be neat to see what is on the inside. So when we open this up, I'm going to try and do this on camera so you can see. I'm taking a little bit of time here. There we go. Oh, yeah. Ah, smells like grunge. When we open this up, oh, yeah. We have a bunch of stuff because you always get a bunch of stuff in Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo brand new games. You can see it right here. That's what you see on the inside. We're going to take the laundry list of goodies out of the side panel, and we're going to go over these one at a time. First of all, we have the EA Sports 95 All-Star lineup, which features Madden 95, NHL 95, LaRussa Baseball 95, PGA Tour 3. Man, I would love to get a sealed copy of that to open for the show. PGA Tour Golf 3 is so good. We also have Mario Andretti Racing, Rugby World Cup 95, FIFA Soccer 95, and NBA Live 95 there. So certainly a lot of sports on display. We also have College Football 95, IMG International Tour Tennis, and Tough Man Boxing, which doesn't even have box art yet. Pretty cool boxing game, by the way, and that's a Genesis exclusive. So this is pretty neat to see. EA Sports in 1995 was certainly very busy, and a pretty good year for sports games overall from the company. We also have an ad for the 4-way play adapter. There it is right there. Now 4 players can compete at the same time, and you do see 4 places to plug in your Genesis controllers. This was $30 that you could send in to Electronic Arts to be able to get it in the mail, and it lists some of the games that are available for play on it, so that's pretty cool. We also have a warranty card, register now. Got this right here. This is before internet, so you're not going to see any email addresses here. Name, phone, country, address, city, state, zip, age, birthday, program name, which is the cartridge name, date it was purchased, which kind of Genesis video games do you own? Adventure, action arcade, driving, flight sim, role-playing, sports, puzzles, or other? Sports, that's my thing. Do you usually try your games before buying them? That is an interesting question to ask, and the answer for me, honestly, was not often enough. If yes, what store or where did you try it? At a store, played at a friend's, at an arcade, rented, or other? How many hours a week do you usually play your video game products? There is an option there for 20 hours or more. Boy, I wish I could play games for 20 hours a week now. How long have you owned your video game system? From 0 months to 25 months. What other type of video game system do you have? Super Nintendo or Sega CD? And I have both. And honestly, back then, I had both still. How many Genesis games do you own? About 150. How many EA games do you own? Way too many to count. And what other types of video games do you want EA to make? So that is your warranty card. And yes, of course, you do still have to put a stamp at the top. Here is the instruction manual, and it is thick. Look at that. It is a manual that is over 50 pages in length and actually shows you some of the plays. It actually outlines the plays you can call in the game, which I think are pretty cool if you're into that kind of strategy. I believe these are some more plays right here. It is not in color, it's in black and white, but it walks you through how to play the game. It walks you through all the controls, and this was important because this was a brand new way to play basketball and introduced some new play controls. So it made sense to read this over before you started getting into the game. I have nothing but fond memories of this game, and I am not the biggest basketball guy. If you know me, if you're talking about favorite video game sports, football and hockey are like 1 and 1A. And then basketball is behind that in like third, and then maybe we get to baseball in fourth. So, and especially basketball simulation. Basketball arcade, when we're talking NBA Jam, I am all over that. And you can certainly play this game that way. You can set some of the settings so it plays more like an arcade-style game instead of simulation, which is nice to be able to have that kind of customization available. If you don't own this, whether it's for the Genesis or for the Super Nintendo, I cannot recommend it enough. Not only are you getting some of the older rosters, but you're also playing a game that really doesn't age because it's using sprite graphics. While the graphics may be a bit rudimentary, the gameplay is still as fast as ever, still as enjoyable as ever, and as long as you've got a cartridge that has battery backup, you can play seasons and just have a grand old time playing the game. So a year later, we got the follow-up because NBA Live 95 was a big hit. So enter NBA Live 96, this guy right here. Back-to-back champion, again with that 90s attitude kind of font on the back there. NBA Live 96 returns for another championship season with new player animations and realistic strategy to make it the coolest hoops game ever created on the Sega Genesis. We might have a little bit of what we call hyperbole there, but maybe not if you like the NBA Live games. So here again, we have another brand new list of features here with new animations, new dunks, including tip slams and power dunks. That's pretty cool. Passing on the run and turbo features let you fast break. We had that from NBA Live 95. That is not new. Alley-oops block dunks in midair passes. Blocking dunks is a really cool feature. Again, pulling from NBA Jam. New crowd chants and interactive crowd free throw action. That is pretty cool. Real NBA strategy with on-the-fly play calling and animated play diagrams. Now we have over 60 offensive plays and 10 defensive sets, so we've had expansions in both of those categories. You can create, draft, edit, and trade players. So now from NBA Live 95, not only can you trade, but now you can create players for the first time. So yes, it's in the game, including putting yourself in the game, and that is something that I love to do, especially as someone who cannot shoot a basketball to save his life. To be able to put myself in the game as a point guard that can score 30 points a game, and yeah, I probably hype myself up just a little too much. Team player and user stats are all saved using the battery backup function. Full season exhibition are going directly to the playoffs at any time. All 29 NBA teams, because now I believe we are playing with Toronto, the Raptors, and Vancouver, who I believe were the Grizzlies then. And 4-player action. You also have 2 all-star and 4 custom teams just like before. Again, this is a sealed copy, so we're going to open this up. I know this video is running a little bit long. There is the NBA seal of authenticity right there. I love looking at that little seal. Let's go ahead and open this up, and let's see what's on the inside. And I might need my scissors for this one, although I'm hoping I don't. All right. No, I'm going to get there. I am going to get there. Or maybe not. There we go. Scissors right here. There we go. Oh, that didn't work. This is why videos run so long. There, I think I got it now. Or, yep, there we go. I see some movement at the top. There it is. All right. Yeah, it takes like a minute to open this. Then again, unsealing is the whole idea behind the show, so I don't feel so bad. When we open up the case, Again, we have some stuff, although not as much as in the last one. We're going to kind of show you what is on the inside. I'm going to try not to let stuff fall out, including a $10 Champs gift certificate there, and we're going to get to all that stuff in just a moment. Let's take all of these things out, and we're going to kind of close this game just for now. So let's take a look at everything bit by bit. So again, this is a gift certificate special offer for EA Sports customers, $10 off a purchase of $35 or more, but you have to go to the Champs store or any going to the game store. This is effective until June 30th of 1996, so I have a feeling that this is no good anymore. Oh well. We also have, I want to save that. We also have our registration card. I'm not going to read everything like I did last time, but I love having these. We also have the 1996 All-Star lineup for EA Sports. Again, another big year for both the Genesis and the Game Gear. And when we look inside, we have Madden 96, NHL 96. NHL 96 is very, very good. If you haven't played it, you should. FIFA Soccer 96, College Football USA 96, which is great on the Genesis and lousy on the Super Nintendo. NBA Live 96, PGA Tour 96. PGA Tour 96 you can take or leave, honestly. Tough Man Contest is finally here. You now see box art for it again, a really cool boxing game. Coach K College Basketball, which basically uses the NBA Live engine, but in a college basketball setting. Another game that I recommend, especially come March when it's time for March Madness. We also have Triple Play 96 for the Genesis, and then we have a pair of 32X games, FIFA Soccer 96 and Tough Man Contest. Wow, the 32X. For Game Gear, we had a full complement of games for this particular year. FIFA Soccer, Madden 95, MLBPA Baseball, and NHL Hockey were all here for the Game Gear. So if you had a Game Gear, you had some sports games to play from EA Sports. And then finally, we have the instruction manual, which is not as packed as the last one. Here is the thickness, so not too bad. This manual is a little less, 39 or 40 pages in length. It doesn't go through all of the offensive and defensive plays because you can see those in the game, but it does walk you through how to play the game. It walks you through the play controls. Let's see if there's anything else that's worth showing. The free throw meter, and I don't know if you can really see it. There we go. But the free throw meter, you actually have a crowd kind of going nuts in the background, which makes it difficult to see where to stop the basketball. So that's pretty cool. That T meter is something that EA used for a long time in its basketball games. Instant replay is here, of course, which is something you want to use if you have a really big play. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of in-game screens to show. There's something with the instant replay feature. And on the back, we actually see the NBA Live 96 Player's Guide, where you get over 200 pages of NBA Live info. I'd like to see that. I actually should look on eBay and see if I can find one of those. NBA Live 96 is a great follow-up to NBA Live 95. It's not quite as groundbreaking as the first game, but still is a lot of fun to play. And it's probably the last of the live games for both the Genesis and the Super Nintendo that's worth playing. At this point, the PlayStation and the Sega Saturn are relevant, and NBA Live 96 had come out for the PlayStation. It is basically like a souped-up version of the Super Nintendo or Genesis versions with slightly more detailed players. Once we got to NBA Live 97 and beyond, you really wanted to go to the PlayStation because we had polygon-based players instead, which moved a bit faster. The dunks looked better, and there was more to see and do. The NBA Live series, losing this series is a shame. Having the NBA Live series around as long as we did and seeing it through its high points is certainly a memory for any sports video game player. Whether it's the 16-bit era, the 32-bit era, where we really saw NBA Live take off, even during the PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube era with NBA Live 2004 and 2005, which were two of the more celebrated games in the series. Unfortunately, we saw the series tail off with the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 era, and then when EA decided to bring it back after the failure that was NBA Elite 11, where they literally canceled it at the 11th hour, the series was never really able to get on target again, and by then, the NBA 2K series was just completely dominant and in control, which is where we are today. Will EA bring back the NBA Live series? It's really hard to say. They've continued to try, and unfortunately, it just has not worked out. But the good news is that there are great NBA Live games that you can play on your Super Nintendo, on your Genesis, on your PlayStation 2 or Xbox, or even on, I think those are the ones. I don't remember whether they're, I'd have to look to see if they're the GameCube games or not. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. But it's a loss to not have that series around anymore. They are great games to revisit, and you can find them usually for pretty cheap at your local used video game store. So happy 25th anniversary of the NBA Live series, even though it is a bit bittersweet considering where the series is today. As always, thanks for checking out this and all of my episodes of Unsealed. I really do appreciate it. Look for a brand new one soon, but until then, my friends, take care of yourselves and each other, and we will see you next time.